Oh, good day, everyone. It's Rich Mclean, Dr. Rich Mclean, actually. I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I'm amazing. And apart from that, I'm not suicidal. However, I've been quite the victim the last few, or about 5 years, long time actually. I'll explain. This video today, published on the 29th of January 2021, is to circuit break what is just about to happen. What is just about to happen is that yesterday I narrowly escaped being incarcerated in a mental hospital because they think I'm suicidal. I am not, and I'm quite happy. However, I've been the victim of injustice. I'm appealing for the public's help and my friends and family's help because an absolute abhorrent thing has happened. Now, I'll explain in a letter that I will read out to you that I wrote to the Minister Simon Birmingham. Now, Simon Birmingham oversees compensation for detriment caused by defective administration, the CDDA scheme. I'm worth millions and millions of dollars. However, I don't have a cent and I don't have food. This has been a conspiracy of victimization. Hear me out. I know conspiracy sounds all mental healthy. And a perverse desecration of my human rights. And it has been a crude and systemic victimization of me. So I wrote to the minister because I'm a person who's been oppressed so much. I have, this is back ages ago. This is back in March 2021. I was hospitalised by my family. Now, what I was asking for, I kind of said, I'm so sick of being oppressed. I'll top myself if no one intervenes with my justice issues. But rather than see the justice issues, everyone saw a label and a mental illness and a suicide threat, which there was none. Now, I wish to say that when I was incarcerated, they said I had delusions of persecution. That was proven incorrect. The delusions that they said I had and the psychosis I said I had was actually factual and real. Now, inside that incarceration, I actually had proven beyond reasonable doubt that my family and friends and no one in the world had my side and instead chose to identify and victimise me as a mental illness patient rather than go for the justice. I'll explain the justice and why I'm worth millions of dollars and why, if you invest, I will reward you handsomely. Now, that suicide that happened in the hospital when I was locked up because I'd proven no one cared was a success. The freedom of information from the hospital from the time say it was a successful attempt and it was a fatal injury and it was a lethal attempt. I was found with no blood and no pulse. You can't get much more dead than that, and I was found by accident. I was then revived. Now, since then, a lot's happened. That was in March 2021. Now, I have trouble with memory, and that's probably an acquired brain injury from from losing all my blood, which affects the hippocampus. I've got a lot of issues overseeing me, and I'll try and explain. So I'm going to put this as a private and a public statement to the government for compensation. And I actually have an AAT case with work cover, which is on Monday. They've scheduled it for 4:30 in the afternoon, and despite me not consenting to it, they have said it's going ahead. That's because the government is systemically opposed to me, and I'll explain this in a minute. I'm going to be robbed on Monday afternoon of probably a total permanent disability payment, all my work cover, which equals either like $500,000 or $1.2 million. That's why I emailed the minister so urgently. And but since it's the weekend, I have 48 hours to make this work. Otherwise, yesterday, the CAT team tried to come and get me and lock me away under a treatment order. A treatment order is the law. The law says they can lock me up for 40 days. However, last time I went in, and I do record things because it proves the evidence, I was threatened that I would be made an award of the state. That is published on my website, killhim.info. That is what the government did to me. They oppressed me for so many years and through so many systemic agencies that my suicide was basically a conspiracy to murder. Now, if no one intervenes or helps me with finances in that I can run away somewhere else or get justice before they incarcerate me, maybe it's possible none of you will ever see me again, and I will be put in forensic care prison. I don't call it a prison anymore. Forensic care mental health facility, and I will be banned from getting justice. This video aims to get that justice. Or I will be homeless on the 14th of February. That's in about a week and a bit. And I will have lost millions and millions of dollars on Monday and owed many millions and millions more. That is because I'm the victim of a movement to destroy me, victimization from systemic government agencies across the board. And I prove it beyond reasonable doubt at killhim.info. The powers that be know that I am right, and they know I'm sane, and they know that they're covering their asses, and they would prefer to either kill me by proxy, i.e. making me suicide by my own accord, making life so difficult that I do suicide, which is kind of likely. I've done it once ages ago and in a hospital, which was covered up by the government. It's rendered me, since March, an infamous vagrant. I'm totally happy. It's quite macabrely funny to me, actually. I'm not suicidal. This has conspired to my destruction via proxy of government agencies. In that, I say, I'll explain. So I'm appealing to independent media and the public's help, and I'm going to hold, if the minister doesn't come to conciliation, the government to account for the perversion of justice and accrued systemic victimization of myself if no conciliation is arrived at. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about me, because I'm not just like a mental illness, you know. My name's Dr. Richard Mclean. I'm a registered NDIS therapeutic support worker who worked with marginalised people with mental health issues and concerns in Melbourne, Australia. I brought to my roles the experience of being an artist for 30 years, a human rights awarded autobiographer, a past illustrator for the Herald Sun and the Age, and a 25 plus year recovery advocate role that was public. And I completed a doctorate in 2020. I live with my husky, Crystal. She's the seventh dimensional mascot of my life. I love her. And this statement is simple and fact-based with links you can click on. This is only a draft for the minister. To undeniable evidence and view data, material, art and mentioned items that I refer to. My business website is richmclean.com.au. Have a look, where you can see my advocacy role of 25 years plus, my 30-year art career in drawings and illustration and digital media, my newspaper illustrations and freelance work, both for the Herald Sun and the Age, and my many achievements in publications, academia, writing, art, speaking, and music. My NDIS work with reviews as a worker and a support worker, and as a registered therapeutic support as a provider for the NDIA. You can read my Masters of Education or my art-based research PhD. My PhD focuses on young people and their ethical opinions of being post-human now and in the future, framed by global catastrophic risks. It's quite a controversial PhD. It passed, and in that PhD, I argued against the labelling of mental health and talked about the stigma and prejudice of being labelled with a mental illness label. And I actually unpicked the meaning of the label I'd been given and successfully passed. The people who were oppressing me and trying to lock me up, I know more than them. So anyway, I'm appealing for help from the public within 48 hours of today, which is about 11 o'clock on January the 29th, or I will A, not be able to pay rent on the 14th, and I'll be a vagrant and they will have won, or I will face being locked away, or potentially locked away and incarcerated in a psychiatric unit by the law where justice will not happen. I want you all to take this statement to the police. Hopefully, it will be the very key publication and video that delivers me from being utterly and absolutely framed and rendered a vagrant, that's happened already, and most likely locked up and the key thrown away, rather than my justice being atoned. I ask for whistleblower status. I have been denied it from IBAC, who investigate the police, AFSA, APRA, the Commonwealth Ombudsman, many times. I want whistleblower status because I'm not safe and I'm not supported. And in fact, it's the exact opposite. I'm a systemically persecuted by the government. I'm framed by a GP's lawyer. I'm maimed. I'm shamed, victimised and vilified. A conspiracy to pervert the course of justice has occurred, and a gross victimisation has occurred. My human rights have been trampled on. My voice has been silenced. It has led, since that hospitalisation in March, to my financial destruction, and I live with an ABI where my memory's affected in a way. It's not totally disabling, but I notice it. And plus, I cannot feel my feet. This is my situation right now. I am banned from litigation from the Victorian Bar. I cannot report crime to police. If you want evidence of that, go to killing.info and see me recording myself and being interviewed by police time and time again trying to report this corruption. My voice is silenced. I have no voice. I have been systemically denied justice across many government systemic agencies and statutory authorities. I have had hitmen threatened on me. I am threatened with permanent incarceration. That's being made a ward of the state. They would prefer I die or that happen before my multi-millions come in, which I don't even want, and which, if you support me and they do come in, I will reward you handsomely if you help me. I've been illegally incarcerated twice and misunderstood and heinously desecrated by some family members. I have been misdiagnosed. So I was told I had delusions of persecution when I went into the hospital the first time. However, when they let me go, they had to admit that I neither had delusions of persecution, I wasn't psychotic, and I wasn't delusional. What was happening was true. I have had my dignity crushed and isolated from everyone. I have death threats at my door. At the moment, I barely have any food, I don't have access to medication, and I barely have healthcare. I have a GP who I see occasionally, and you would think that a suicidal patient would be given a psychologist and a psychiatrist after they left hospital. Since March 2021, I have had 2 psychiatrist appointments in a whole year. The first was abysmal. The second was to kick me off the system. And the third one was after the latest incarceration just before Christmas. And that is not sufficient care for a person who has legally been dead inside your hospital. That is more than a bad public mental health system. That is a movement to desecrate someone so that they will die. This is my angle. This is what they are trying to do. They are trying to silence and quash me before justice. If they can't do that, they will kill me via proxy. If they can't do that, they are going to incarcerate me forever. I am worth millions of dollars. Please, can you share this to the police? Share it to your friends. Go to killim.info. Have a look at the evidence for yourself. And please help me, because I am now on the run. I feel like with Thelma and Louise. Anyway, I've been utterly destroyed personally, professionally, and privately. Financially decimated. This years-long movement to intensely victimise and oppress me did lead me to my suicide in March 2021 in a hospital. And that was covered up by statutory government agencies such as the police. And the hospital CEO was so pleased that the government said there's nothing to see here, and so did the police, that he tempted me directly and personally to sue him for everything. He knew I couldn't go to the police. He knew I couldn't get litigation. This is because everyone knows I'm framed. I was further desecrated by my business website, richmclean.com.au, which I've finally got back up now, being ruined by Micron21, a company that hosted my website and has links to the government. Surprise, surprise. After my suicide, I had been on a DSP before, but they put me on job seeker even though I was already on leave. I'm denied to complain to police, and I'm maimed and blacklisted by many, many government agencies, including the NDIS or the NDIA, who have flat out refused to pay me my invoices that I'm owed, 42 of them, which would have avoided my homelessness. I have written to the NDIA minister, and I have told her I have no food, I have no medication, and I am squatting. It is the government's responsibility as a person with an apparent disability to look after me. She has got back to me and pushed the can down the road. Now, delaying and deferring is the preferred technique of all these agencies. That's correct too for many politicians, including the Attorney General, Michaelia Cash. And under her portfolio, I've been deceived and prejudiced and victimised at the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. AFCA, the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, owe me over $2 million in overdue determinations. Tim Goss and Peter Fisher are towing the line. They are consciously aware that since March, they have caused me to be a vagrant. They have withdrawn any overdue payment, kicking, delaying, deferring, and I had to go bankrupt. I didn't have to go bankrupt. Also, the Australian Human Rights Centre, they organised a conciliation with a prejudiced superannuation company and a conciliation. However, once that was organised, I called them up to find out about it, and they rejected me. So they said, the other party's withdrawn. It's a voluntary process, so there's nothing we can do. And I said, you're supposed to stick up for me. You're the Australian Human Rights Centre. You've just free kicked millions of dollars to the opposition, haven't you? That is a conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. What litigation do you have to prove that you're allowed to do that? They didn't come up with it. Now, in addition, AFSA, I can't remember who they are. I think they're the bankruptcy people. They accepted my bankruptcy. They said to me that if I can prove that I shouldn't be bankrupt, which I shouldn't, they'll wipe it. And so I said to them, here's the proof, and they still didn't come to the party. And APRA, I'm a banned whistleblower. That is because they said I wasn't a government employee. But I emailed them my government employee checklist from the government, and then they reported me to the police. Comcare are another one under General Michaelia Cash's portfolio, and they have conspired to reject me from my work cover claim, valid, and now it's at the AAT. Paul Fowler is the guy at the head of Comcare who rejected me. WorkSafe would not help me with my appeal with Comcare. As it turns out, Paul Fowler was the old head at WorkSafe. This entire thing is systemically corrupted. That is corruption. I can't go to police, and if I go to IBAC or an ombudsman and report that, I am banned. So, I mean, I'm a strong person. If I'm this much of an enemy to the government, it means I have some knowledge that is going to tip shit up. So I wrote to the minister, I'm seeking compensation for detriment caused by defective administration, CDDA scheme, as proven below. These government agencies have led to my utter financial desecration. This stemmed from my framing and victimisation and blacklisting from many organisations. The oppressive forces I fought for years and years that led to my tragic suicide. I was revived from certain death, and then the government then covered that up. I'm repeating myself here, but I said I was unresponsive, had no observable pulse, having lost all my blood, and found unresponsive. I've been fighting this since March 2021, when I was released from the hospital, then rejected from care and rejected to a house that I was squatting in with no job, on job seeker now, and no food and no money and no car. So this is the unethical way they've treated me. That's more than a bad public mental health system. That is a delay and defer tactic in which it is hoped, through desperation and suffering, I will kill myself before justice, which opposes those with power and privilege, which protects those with power, money and privilege and reputations to protect. I've got nothing else to lose by putting this video out. So I've said I demand whistleblower status as a person banned from police, banned from complaining, my voice silenced, corruption, as well as my evidence on killing.info, and robbed of all my prosperity, robbed of my dignity, and my very, very worth. This is important, everyone. If I am not provided some finance to hit the fucking road, like Thelma and Louise, they are going to incarcerate me. I wish to say I am not suicidal. I am not suicidal. That is what they are trying to frame me with in order to get away with not paying me the millions of dollars in compensation that they owe me. I'm a Buddhist. I live a simple life. That's how I've survived for the whole entire year, living on $60 a week. Now, I'm going to take a break because talk back in a minute, but you won't believe what has happened next. It's uncanny. Wait on a sec.